Welcome to your Weather Impact Extended Weekend Forecast, exclusively here on 13 WMAZ+. I'm meteorologist Alex Pry. Each week, we're taking an in-depth look about what's ahead for your weekend forecasts, some of your event-specific forecasts, along with going into the second half of your 7-day forecast and a look at what's beyond that. So let's jump right into it. Starting out with Future View, and number one, before we even get past this pause point, I'm going to tell you that we're entering a setup that is very similar to what we had as of last week, where we might have severe weather risk each and every day. We're going to have showers, some thunderstorms. So that's the pattern we're kind of entering, but not quite today. It does look like the most of your Friday afternoon and evening hours trending pretty dry. I have about a 30% chance of a shower or maybe seeing a storm, but we're not expecting anything in the way of severe weather for your Friday. However, we are going to keep a little bit of a close eye on overnight hours. You can see a couple of showers just to the north of us behind the banner. This is going to be one of these first waves that we're going to talk about. Wave after wave after wave of showers and thunderstorms over this weekend. This wave is going to move into central Georgia sometime in the overnight and early morning hours, but there's a greater chance of possibly some severe weather up in the northern portion of the state of Georgia, because this will be moving in during a period where temperatures aren't quite as cool as they would be here right in the middle of the night. Take a look at what Future View has for happening during the overnight hours. Absolutely nothing. It can remain pretty consistent of this idea over the last 3 days, and this does make sense. Overnight hours, early morning hours are the cooler portions of the day. Doesn't have a lot to work with in terms of daytime heating. So I think really just some scattered showers, maybe a storm or two this afternoon into the evening is all that is going to really encompass our satellite and radar. But now let's talk about Saturday, because we go into the morning hours. The first half of Saturday looks relatively dry, so I would definitely recommend making your plans a little bit earlier in the weekend, and if you have plans on Saturday, trying to make them a little bit earlier in the day, because once we get past lunchtime, we will start to get some warmer temperatures. Not forecasting much in the way of cloud cover throughout the morning hours, so that's going to allow for our warm up, and the moisture that we've had present for the last couple of days will still be sitting over the southeast. So 2 p.m., scattered activity starting to bubble up on the satellite and radar picture, or I guess rather the Future View graphic, but just looking at central Georgia as a whole. You can see maybe a wave of showers and storms rolling in sometime in the late afternoon into the early evening hours. This is 6 p.m. on Saturday, seeing a couple reds and a couple orange colors embedded within some of these scattered showers. Whatever rain does come to fruition tomorrow, it does look to be as of kind of the very widely scattered nature. However, as we continue and we still have a little bit of daylight left, once we get to sunset around 8:30, 8:40 at night, and temperatures do begin to cool down sometime just past sunset, we are still looking at the potential for some scattered rain, even the possibility of a strong storm or two as we go into the evening hours on Saturday. But then once we continue about the nighttime hours, all this activity fizzles out. We go to the midnight hour and most of this rain is already leaving our area. Sunday morning, we could see some rain in the morning, we may not. The timing of these is very subject to change. Each individual model run says something different every time they come out. Like I said, very similar pattern to what we had last week and what we were telling you. But the big thing I want to note is it's all going to depend on how much cloud cover is present during the morning hours. Are we going to allow for that warm up into maybe the low 90s, the upper 80s that can be combined with all of the surface moisture that we have? But it just looks like potential for scattered showers and storms, maybe a little bit widespread at times throughout the afternoons. This looks like it has the timing of maybe around lunchtime on Sunday all the way into the afternoon hours, and then clearing out for the rest of your Sunday evening. That could go until the midnight hour on Monday. So just know the potential is there for some stronger weather each and every day, and I'm about to show you the storm outlooks that we do have issued. Number one, this is your day one storm outlook. And what I want to talk about with these, obviously, before we zoom into central Georgia, is going to be just how wide of a risk area this is. You can see that there's a level 2 spanning from states as far west as Colorado, New Mexico, all the way across to the eastern United States, and it including goes up to the mid-Atlantic and New England portions of the country. So these are all the areas that really have those sufficient ingredients for some storm development. The areas that are going to be of the highest confidence are those level 3 areas just around Lubbock, Texas, on the border of Colorado and getting into Kansas. But as we zoom into central Georgia, you can see that most of our counties find themselves in a level 1 out of 5 risk. Now, this is the day 1 storm outlook. This is going to be for Friday. It does look like they're talking about that line of showers and storms that will move through during the overnight and early morning hours that I was just showing you, that kind of falls apart, really loses its steam before it makes its entrance into central Georgia. We may not see anything in the way of rain whatsoever, but they have highlighted the potential threats for gusty winds and possibly some large hail with some stronger or some severe storms. However, I'm not buying too much stock into this because it's coming through during that cooler portion of the day, and I will expect a substantial weakening trend with that line as it progresses farther southward. But now we go to the day 2 storm outlook, and this day 2 outlook is even larger than the day 1 outlook. So this is going to go for Saturday. Take a look at all of these states highlighted in these risks. Once again, really just looking at sufficient ingredients available for severe weather all across most of the country. So the potential threats they have highlighted: gusty winds, the potential for large hail, and a very low threat for maybe a brief or a spin-up tornado. We saw all of these potential threats as of last week when we continue to get these storm outlooks. So it's not a guarantee that we do see anything in the way of severe weather, but it's better to be safe than sorry. Continue to just monitor the latest forecasts. If things get a little bit messy outside, you hear rumbles of thunder off in the distance, make plans to go ahead and head inside. But there is a greater confidence in some form of stronger or possibly severe weather for your Saturday afternoon and evening, as all of central Georgia does find themselves in a level 2. And then we go to the day 3 outlook, where once again, just about every state here kind of east of the Rocky Mountains does find themselves in some sort of severe weather outlook. And down here in central Georgia, most of our south and southeastern half, really just almost the entirety of our area, finds themselves once again in a level 2 out of 5 risk. Haven't highlighted the potential threat for a brief or spin-up tornado as of right now for Sunday, and you can see the confidence decreases as you go up I-75 towards North Georgia. We'll continue to see how that plays out. I think it's really going to depend on the timing of these waves, these disturbances of rain, what time they come through. If we do have anything in the way of stronger or more severe weather, it's got to come through during that afternoon and evening time frame, and we've got to get a little bit of surface heating before that wave does roll through. If we stay cloudy, temperatures don't get out of the mid-80s, not going to have as much surface heat to work with as we would if they were forecasted to reach the 90s. So going according to this future view run, let's just take a look at how much rain it is forecasting over the next 3 days. We'll play it all the way out until Sunday evening, right here at 7 p.m. We could see some areas with locally heavy amounts. So those pockets where stronger, maybe a severe thunderstorm continue to roll over, like Dublin right here, popping up 3.1 inches of rain. That's what's going to happen associated with this. So if you get some stronger weather, you will get a lot more rain at the core of that. Those heavy downpours can accumulate a little bit more. Everyone looks to get some sort of rain over the course of this weekend, whether it's only a couple tenths of an inch or you do fall above the inch threshold. I would say the good range right now is probably going to be about ½ an inch all the way up to 1.5 inches. So not forecasting a whole lot of rain, but it's just been a rainy stretch. So this is just going to continue to add to the totals, and those isolated patchy areas of locally heavy downpours can get up to maybe 2 or possibly 3 inches over the course of this weekend. But I did mention how important those surface temperatures are going to be. How high will the temperatures get before possible stronger weather does pop up? Well, I'm forecasting a high of 91 for Friday, about a 30% chance of seeing a shower or a storm. That may even be overshooting it. However, it's warm, it's humid, want to cover the bases because we can see rain and even some low-end thunderstorms pop up virtually out of nowhere when you do have warm temperatures that are continuing to lead to that rising motion that lifts all of that surface moisture we have present. How about 93 on Saturday? So if we do reach a high temperature somewhere in the low to borderline flirting with the mid-90s, that's obviously going to be plenty of surface heat along with the moisture that's present, and that could create a primed atmosphere for potential stronger or severe weather. But it's all going to depend on when those waves do move in. If it trails a little bit later into the nighttime hours, then those temperatures would not be near as warm as 93 degrees. So it's something we're going to have to play by ear as we go across the course of this weekend. 60% chance of rain on Saturday, 70% chance on Sunday. Those are kind of rough guesstimates. It does really just show that the rain chances are going to be more widespread Saturday and Sunday as opposed to what we have in store for Friday afternoon and evening. So let's talk about that humidity. Is it going to fluctuate any? That Gulf low pressure system we were talking about that brought All of Wednesday's downpours, some low-end thunderstorms, just dumped a whole lot of tropical humidity all over the southeast. And you can see our dew point temperatures are going to hover right on that line between humid and very muggy for the next 4 days. Then it'll fluctuate a little bit, maybe a slight bit of a roller coaster once we get to Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, but still not budging whatsoever. So it's going to be a humid and a muggy atmosphere for virtually the next week in central Georgia. So in turn, it can make those actual temperatures feel a whole lot warmer. We haven't showed this graphic too much, but take a look at what's in store for your Friday afternoon and evening. Feels like 95, 96, wouldn't even be surprised to see a 97 or a 98 pop up in some locations, especially farther to the south. Let's take a look at what it says for Saturday. Feels like 99. All of our neighbors feeling like 100, 101 in Albany, 101 in Savannah. This will be definitely the biggest heat we felt so far in the entire year of 2025, and the first time our heat indices would eclipse that triple-digit mark. So we have the possibility of triple-digit heat indices for your Saturday afternoon into the evening hours before maybe some rain does decide to pop up. But depending on what time the rain does roll through, as you can see, this big shade of yellow right here, Sunday at 3 p.m., the rain is going to do a number on those feels like temperatures and the actual temperatures. All that rain cooled air will have us feeling nice and pleasant somewhere in the mid to upper 70s, maybe the low to mid 80s, like up here in Macon if we are to get some peaks of sunshine. So it's going to be a hot and humid week, no way around it, and that's what I want to emphasize during these dry periods. A lot of you participating in outdoor plans, and we'll get into some of the forecasts here specifically in just a second. It is going to be a hot and humid one, so be sure you're lathering up with sunscreen as you are encountering the sunny portions of each and every day, along with staying hydrated and maybe taking some breaks in the shade, because that humidity is definitely going to weigh on you. That air that you can wear is what we refer to it as. But with warmer temperatures, always want to give you a good reminder as a dog owner myself, too hot to trot. When those temperatures get above 90, maybe even close to 95 degrees, thankfully not forecasting highs necessarily that high. However, we do find ourselves in between that 90 and 95 degree mark over the course of 2 days this weekend, and just shy of it, maybe somewhere in the upper 80s for your Sunday. Concrete and asphalt temperatures can hover around 125, 140 degrees for the concrete once you get above 90 degrees in that air temperature, or the asphalt can be even hotter because once again it's darker in color, it absorbs more of that solar radiation as opposed to concrete, which is lighter in nature, so it will reflect a lot of that. But nonetheless, these surfaces are going to be hot, 140, 155 degrees in nature. So yes, definitely make sure if you're taking your pets on a walk, get them some form of some insulated shoes so their paws aren't burning up on those hot surfaces, and try to walk them in the grass and just give them a lot of water. Make sure your pets are well hydrated, and if it's too hot for yourself to be out there, definitely be sure do not leave your furry friends out. So let's talk about some of the fun stuff. How about the Georgia Peach Festival going to kick off its first weekend down in Fort Valley for Friday and Saturday? I think Friday we still once again have the chance of seeing a shower or a storm, but it is a whole lot less than what we have in store for Saturday. So Friday is definitely the best day to go participate in the Peach Festival with a high temperature near about 89 degrees down in Fort Valley. Soaring up just above the 90 degree mark for Saturday, but once we get into the afternoon and evening time frame, that's when you need to be on the lookout for some storms, maybe some showers in nature. If you do see some of those dark clouds approaching off in the distance, hear some faint rumbles of thunder, go ahead and make plans to head back to your car, and you may want to call it a day. But just get out there Friday as opposed to Saturday and you won't have that problem. Milligville Beach Bash, that will be going on Friday evening about 6 to 8 p.m. They've dumped a whole lot of sand in the parking lot in downtown Milligville. It's a hot and humid one, and I do think the farther north that you are throughout Friday, you're probably not going to deal with as much in the way of rain. How about a high temperature of 90 that feels more like the mid-90s? Definitely be sure to stay hydrated out there. Bring those shades and make sure that you're keeping all of your loved ones that are out there playing on the sand and the hot surfaces safe from some of the warm temperatures. That's the name of the game in summertime. Macon Bacon, actually 2 games this weekend. They did open up their season last week, so they will have a game on Friday at about 7 p.m. Just a hot and humid game. I think the better chance for seeing maybe a storm in nature, number one, it's going to be very isolated, so it will move over fairly quickly. That would be closer to before first pitch. Once we head into the nighttime hours, that's when we are going to see those temperatures cool down, and I think most of the rain that could be in the picture is going to fizzle out. So how about 92 and 90 if you don't see any of that rain to help cool you down? Maybe a brief shower wouldn't be so bad to keep those temperatures a little bit lower for the game on Friday night. Now for the game on Saturday, I do believe this is probably going to likely be rained out. Eventually, we will see the scattered rain popping up earlier in the day, transition into more so some possible storms. And obviously, you just need one flash of lightning, one rumble of thunder to create a lightning delay in a baseball game. So I do believe it's probably likely going to get rained out, as this rain and the possible storms are expected to continue into the nighttime hours. And not a bad thing either, because Saturday is actually probably going to be warmer than what is forecasted for Friday. Grillcast, have a little bit of caution on Friday, but I still think you're good to go and fire it up with a green spatula. Just keep an eye out on the sky before going out and making plans to go cook up a good steak, cook up some good chicken, whatever your taste buds may be craving. Saturday and Sunday, I order in those red spatulas. Once again, you could kind of just monitor what the conditions are outside, but it does look like the afternoon to evening time frame is going to be when the messier weather and the non-conducive grilling weather is going to be. So my recommended weekend attire, you're probably going into a lot of the closet throughout this weekend. Rain jacket, of course, and an umbrella just in case you run into any showers or storms. Have your phone ready in case you do receive any of those possible severe weather alerts. We have the potential for it. Not a guarantee that it's going to happen, but it's hot and it's humid. Wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings sprout this weekend. T-shirt, sunglasses, sunscreen, and a water bottle. Make sure you are taking care of yourself in the hot and humid weather. Definitely don't go break out the long sleeves or the long pants whatsoever. It is going to be a very warm weekend. So entering this other messy stretch of weather as we go into this weekend, and we'll talk more about your extended forecast coming up in just a little bit. But we did actually, believe it or not, it feels like forever ago, we had 4 days in a row with sunshine, no rain chances. Yes, that happened as of last weekend and continued into the beginning of this past week. But we didn't get a view of those crystal clear blue skies that we normally see on days without rain chances and without cloud cover. There was a bit of a haze in the picture. Meteorologist Ansley Parker tells us why that was.
For the past few days, you may have heard us mention, or you may have noticed yourself, the haze that's out in the sky. Now, you also may have heard us mention the fact that this is due to the wildfires that are happening over in Canada. Right now, there's major wildfires currently impacting most of the Canadian provinces, with widespread fires happening all the way from British Columbia over to Ontario. Now, as I mentioned, this is causing some smoke to push into the United States and even causing it to impact air quality in a few spots. You may actually remember Canada's worst ever wildfire season back in 2023. That had some big impacts across the U.S. and even some impacts here in Georgia. So let's take a look at what air quality looks like in our area right now. Luckily, it's really only brought the air quality down just a touch. Most of the smoke has stayed in the upper atmosphere, only dropping our air quality down to the moderate, which means if you're in a sensitive group, you may experience things like asthma. You may just want to consider reducing your time outside doing things like running or prolonged or heavy exertion. Now, further up towards the north, closer to where these wildfires are actually happening, that's where the air quality is a lot lower, even reaching into the very unhealthy category in places like Minnesota, which means all groups would be impacted and should avoid any prolonged time or exertion outside. Now, the good news is, even with the fact that we do have some smoke in our area and in places like the northern U.S., we will eventually start to see this move on. Our upper level atmosphere pattern is changing, and likely starting tomorrow in our area, we'll see most of this smoke start to push out. There may be some remaining haze up in the sky through about the end of the week, but hopefully, generally, the worst of it should be moving out of our region. Now, the even better news is, while this haze is still here, at least in our area, it's really helped with the vibrancy of the sunrises and the sunset. So make sure to step out your door tonight and see if you can catch a glimpse at one of those vibrant sunsets later this evening before the smoke moves on. I'm meteorologist Ansley Parker, and that's all I've got for you for now.
And thankfully, just as forecasted, that smoke did finally move out of the picture as we made our way towards the weekend. So many of you did actually heed Ansley's advice and go outside and get a glimpse of those beautiful sunrises and sunsets. Well, meteorologist David Guerrero shows us some of the photos that you submitted into the 13 WMAZ Weather Network.
Well, we have even more beautiful photos of the sunsets and sunrises from this past weekend from the Saharan dust and the Canadian wildfires. So here are these photos with this week's edition of Weather Network. Our first image comes from Trey Lanier and Warner Robbins, capturing the sun with the orangish hue and the hazy skies behind it. Thank you very much, Trey. The next image is from Preston Hodge. It captures the sun close to setting in the later period of dusk, and it's very similar to what Melissa Green showed from Byron, where it's very red, looks very similar to a Star Wars scene. Thank you very much, Preston, for that. All we need is John Williams to play some music behind that picture. William Hill took this image from Cochrane, and the sun is very bright and radiant with orangish hue right there with the classic hazy skies behind it. Thank you so much, William. And then last but not least, Marilia Butler from Bonaire captured this image of the moon as it kept the red hue into the night sky. So thank you so much, Marilia, for that photo. Now, to search up the 13WZ Weather Network and to include more photos, you can go and scan this QR code or just search up 13WZ Weather Network on Facebook. It is that easy. I had a pleasure showing you these images. Thank you, and have a beautiful night, Central Georgia.
Well, now let's get into the second half of your 7-day forecast and a little bit of what's beyond that. Do we have any relief in sight in terms of another messy stretch of weather with rain chances, storm chances each and every day? Your quick answer is no, but I'll go ahead and show you what Long Range Future View does say. Each and every afternoon when those temperatures are at their warmest, we do look to have some pretty good coverage of rain either here in the state of Georgia or our neighboring states. So we'll kind of get a fine tuning of the exact timing once we kind of transition more into the beginning of next week. Now we get into Tuesday afternoon, still plenty of shades of green and blue from the GFS and the European models right here. Maybe not quite as widespread for Wednesday. We'll keep our fingers crossed that there are some dry breaks within this stretch of rain chances each and every day. Going into Thursday next week, still looks like rain chances are going to be possible. We're not seeing a wavering in that humidity content, and it's also going to depend on how warm those temperatures do get, just like what I was telling you for our short-term forecast. And all the way into Friday at 3 p.m., which is as far as the long-range models do go. Plenty of rain out to the west of us, but there's not a lot of agreement. So we maybe could see some kind of system form way off in the distance as we get into the end of next week. That would be great if we could get a cold front to move through. Wouldn't necessarily do too much in terms of cooling us down necessarily, but it would at least limit those feels like temperatures and get the muggy air that you can wear out of here. So fingers crossed for that, but let's talk about some of the forecasted highs for the first part of next week. Mid to upper 80s are the story each and every day. Have an 88 on Monday, pop down to the mid 80s for Tuesday, 87, 89 as we go into Wednesday and Thursday. All these numbers falling below average for this time of year. So our average high temperature is 90 degrees. The only good thing about all of these rain chances are that they have been keeping the temperatures below what they could be this time of year, although for your Friday and your Saturday this weekend, definitely going to see some numbers that are going to be above that 90-degree mark and a little bit above average, especially the feels like temperatures. But going more into your morning lows, not too much change. Those upper 60s, around 70 degrees, that is going to be the story each and every morning that you walk out the door. That paired up with some dew point temperatures, virtually the same as these exact numbers. So it's going to be a pleasant start, but still going to be a muggy start as these morning low temperatures still hover a couple degrees above average. But let's go past this. Let's start out next Friday all the way into next Thursday as we go kind of into the middle portion of the month of June. It does look like we have a slight chance of seeing above normal temperatures throughout that time period, June 13th through June 19th. So that puts us one box over to the right of that near normal category. So we could see some temperatures that are going to be a little bit above 90 degrees, but once we get to this time frame, our average high temperature is probably going to hover around 91 or 92 degrees. So we could be talking about some mid-90s in our near future. We've avoided them for quite a while, a good stretch of 90-degree high temperatures. However, we're getting into June. That official start of summer is actually one day past the end of this range right here on June 20th. And that is going to make 90s more of the normal, and definitely those heat indices well above the triple digits. How about the precipitation outlook for that same date range, June 13th through the 19th? And once again, we find ourselves one category over to the right of near normal. So it looks like we have a slight probability of seeing above normal amounts of rain. And I wouldn't doubt that we see this shade that is two boxes over to the right of the near normal category slide a little bit over towards the east. However, this date range, it does look like we finally do get out of this very messy stretch of rain chances each and every day. Hopefully that is actually what does play out, but we'll continue to monitor those over the next couple of days. So we did enter a new month of 2025, the 6th month of 2025, in fact. So we've only recorded rain, believe it or not, at Middle Georgia Regional Airport one time in the month of June so far. That was this past Wednesday on June 4th. So in total, we got about 0.3 of an inch of rain, nothing too substantial whatsoever. This says average May rainfall right here, so have to update those. That record for May all time was near 12 inches. So I'll have to update those and kind of get the numbers about how much rain we typically receive in the month of June, and then we'll get back to you. But what I want to turn your attention to is how we finished the month of May. We have been looking for a big green box on this 2025 rainfall graphic, and we finally got one. Almost 3.5 inches above what we normally receive in the month of May in terms of rainfall. So that gives us a slight cushion right now, getting pretty close to about 3/4 of an inch above average as of this past Thursday, which is June 5th. But you can see we're starting out the month of June somehow relatively dry, even with rain chances each and every day. The first 4 days were relatively dry, and I do imagine with all the rain chances that we have forecasted for the next week ahead, we will see that number or that box flip into a green box and that number have a positive beside it. So your drought monitor didn't expect anything in the way of dry conditions with all the rain we've been receiving, and we don't see anything in the way of dry conditions whatsoever. You take a trip down I-75, you see a glimpse of that light yellow shaded area, maybe a bit of some abnormally dry areas in southern Georgia, but nothing here in central Georgia to talk about. I'll actually move over here so you can see I'm not blocking any of the shades of colors closer over to the state line of South Carolina. So this is as of June 3rd. I do imagine we'll continue to keep these levels, out of these abnormally dry or these moderate drought conditions. So let's go ahead and look ahead to what is in store. I do a lot of changing on this graphic because June 1st was a day for a lot. June 1st was the start of hurricane season. June 1st was the start of a new month. June 1st was also the official start of meteorological summer. So we had to take all of those off. The next day to look ahead to is going to be Father's Day, which, believe it or not, is going to come up here in a little over a week. So go ahead and buy your dad that special gift that you have been planning on buying it for him, and do not wait to the last minute like I know many of you probably did for Mother's Day. First day of summer officially going to be on June 20th. So yes, even though we're in meteorological summer, we haven't officially started the summer season. So June 20th is the day to look out for that. 4th of July, obviously many of you know when that is. It says it right in the name of it. So that will be coming up as we go into the month of July. And not too much going on in between now and then. So back to school going to start that week of July 30th. It still feels criminal to see school start back in the month of July, but we know here in central Georgia, some of you get a pretty early start to the school year. So these are your main summer activities. We're going to do some more tinkering and looking around the calendar, see if there's anything notable in the way of weather events that we can talk to you about. But the most notable weather event is going to be that first day of summer. And of course, as we get into the back to school week, we'll be showing you all the fun forecasts for your specific areas as you head out to the bus stop. So 2 things I want to leave you with on this live stream. Number 1, with the anticipated pretty active weekend, the potential for some strong to some severe storms, utilize our weather impact live radar loop. We are continuing to update that, tinker with it to where you can get a live view of what's going on the satellite and radar. You see dark clouds, you hear those rumbles of thunder off in the distance. Go ahead and pop 13 WMAZ Plus up, and you can click the radar and you can get a glimpse of where that weather is. If it's of the severe nature or not, of course, we will be going live with some updates in order to keep you updated if the weather does turn a bit messy. And something else, if you have some time, and obviously we are now in the hurricane season, the 13 WMAZ weather team does have a 2025 hurricane season special here on 13 WMAZ Plus that you can watch on demand for free on your TV. All you have to have is a Roku, Fire TV, or an Apple TV, and you can watch this about 30-minute special on hurricane season. It covers everything you need to know from lingering damage from Helene, the forecast for this approaching season, and things we've learned as of a very active hurricane season last year and what we're going to implement this year when forecasting for tropical systems. So that will do it for this weekend's edition of your Weather Impact Weekend extended forecast. I think it is quite a mouthful, and I've been talking for quite a while, so I will leave you with that. Be sure to tune in every day at 10:30 for my extended forecast or this weekend forecast every Friday at 10:30. Thanks for joining, and have a fantastic weekend.